2,000 years ago, on a hill overlooking Jerusalem, 4 fishermen asked Jesus, in private, the question humanity has never stopped asking. Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Wars, plagues, famine, earthquakes, love growing cold. Every generation looked at its own chaos and asked the same thing. Is it now? Maybe you have wondered that too. But what did Jesus really answer? What are the signs? And are we living them? Who will be ready? And who will be caught off guard? And the question nobody wants to ask out loud. How would you know if you were among the saved? His answer takes 3 chapters, the last great teaching before the cross, and it ends somewhere almost nobody reads. To understand his answer, you need to understand the situation he was living in. It was days before the cross. Jerusalem was packed for Passover. The temple was boiling over. And what happens immediately before the prophecy of the end of the world is not a calm teacher on a hillside. It is perhaps the harshest thing he ever said. He looks at the religious leaders, the most respected men in the city, the men who knew the scripture by heart, who prayed in public, who tithed even the herbs from their gardens, mint, dill, cumin. And in front of everyone he says this, Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell? And here is the first detail that matters. This is not Jesus speaking to murderers, not to thieves, not to prostitutes, not to Roman soldiers. With those, he had dinner. This is Jesus speaking to the religious men of his day, the ones considered the wisest students of the Torah. And the accusation is not that they sinned too much, it is that they looked right too much. Whited sepulchres, beautiful outside, bones within, cups scrubbed clean on the outside, filthy within. Men who tie heavy burdens onto other people's backs and will not lift a finger to help. But there is one accusation on that list that is almost cruel in its precision. He says, You build the tombs of the prophets, you decorate the monuments of the righteous, and you say, If we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Translation, you venerate dead prophets. And while they venerated the dead prophets, the living prophet was standing right in front of them. And they were planning to kill him. It is easy to honor a dead prophet. He does not bother anyone anymore. You build the tomb, you put up a beautiful plaque, he becomes heritage. A dead prophet agrees with you. A living prophet is the one who gets in the way, and then before he leaves, his anger turns into something else. It turns into grief. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings? And ye would not. It is not a threat, it is longing for something that never happened. So when the prophecy of the end of the world begins, 2 verses later, the man speaking has just called the most respected religion in the city a decorated tomb. Remember that. It is the end of this video. They leave the temple, and the disciples do the most human thing possible. They point at the buildings. Master, see what stones, see what buildings. But look at what just happened. He had just called their leaders vipers, announced judgment, grieved over the city, and their reaction is to admire the architecture. And to be fair to them, the temple deserved it. Stones that weighed tens, some of them hundreds, of tons. So much gold on the facade that, according to a historian of the time, at sunrise the reflection forced people to look away, as if they were staring at the sun itself. It was the place where God lived. It was the most permanent thing in their world. So Jesus answers the only way that would wake them up. See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Silence. They crossed the Kidron Valley and climbed the Mount of Olives, where the whole temple was visible, glowing on the other side. He sits down, and 4 of them, Peter, James, John, and Andrew, come to him privately and ask the question, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" It is 3 questions glued into one when the temple falls. What the sign of your coming is when the world ends. Because to them it was all the same thing. There was no such thing as a fallen temple and a standing world. And here begins a problem that has lasted 2,000 years. Jesus does not separate the 3, he answers them all together, mixed. But the important thing is not what he mixes, it is what he refuses. The very first thing out of his mouth is not war, not earthquakes, not blood on the moon. It is this: "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." The first sign of the end on his list is people lying in his name. Not the chaos of nature, not empires falling, people speaking for him. And look where that leaves us. It is not hard to find men who climb onto stages and say they were sent, who use his name to sell, who promise blessing in exchange for a deposit, who point a finger at whoever is different and call that holiness, who mix the gospel with a political banner and call that faith. And many of them talk about the end of the world constantly because fear sells. The irony is almost perfect. Jesus said one of the signs of the end would be people using his name to deceive. And today, the ones shouting loudest about the end are, very often, exactly those people. So, if you are looking for signs, start with that one. It is the only one he put first. He goes on with the list. Wars, rumors of war, famine, earthquakes. But look at what he does next. And this is strange for a man you would expect to be an apocalyptic prophet. "See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." He disarms the alarm. There will be war, there will be famine, there will be earthquakes, and that is still not the end. It is the beginning of sorrows. And the word he uses in the original is the word for childbirth. Contractions. They announce, but they are not the birth. Which means every time someone points at the news and shouts, "Look at the sign," they are doing exactly what Jesus said not to do. Be not troubled. But then comes the part that hurts. "Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." He is speaking to 11 men, sitting beside them, looking at them, and he adds something worse, "And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another." It is not just the enemy outside, it is the brother inside. So what is the final symptom? The meteor, the beast, the army? No. "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." That is perhaps the most frightening line in the entire chapter, and it is the one nobody quotes. Jesus describes the end of the world, and the symptom he highlights is not a catastrophe out there. It is a temperature dropping in here. People who still go to church, who still know the verse, who still say the right name, and who no longer feel anything. The cup clean on the outside, exactly what he had just accused the Pharisees of being 1 chapter earlier. And then the tone changes. It becomes physical. "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes." This is not the language of distant prophecy. It is the language of evacuation. Rooftops in Judea were flat. That was where the family spent the end of the day. There were stairs on the outside. Going down and grabbing something inside took 30 seconds, and he says, do not go down, not even the 30 seconds. The cloak was the most valuable thing a field worker owned. At night, it was his blanket. The law of Moses itself forbade keeping a poor man's cloak after sunset, because without it, he had nothing to sleep in. And he says, leave it. And then, the most human line in the chapter, and woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. He is not judging anyone. He is grieving. He is picturing a woman trying to run with a baby in her arms, and he is feeling it in advance. And pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So after all that urgency, you expect one thing, the date. He prepared the ground, he gave the signs, he told them to run. He spoke of days cut short for the sake of the chosen. The logical next step is to say when. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And in Mark's account, the same line comes even more raw. Neither the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but the Father. Stop and measure the size of that. The man who has just described the end of the world in detail says that not even he knows the date. If even he did not know, who would? There is no chart, no calculation, no hidden code in the Hebrew, no pastor with a revelation. There is none. 2,000 years of people announcing dates, and the answer was right there, in his mouth, inside the very speech those people quote. But here, a problem shows up, and if you know the text, you are already thinking about it. Because, a few verses earlier, he seems to say the opposite. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. So which is it? Can we know or not? We can. And this is the finest distinction in the whole chapter. You look at the fig tree and you know summer is coming. You do not know the day summer arrives. Nobody looks at a leaf opening and says, the 14th, 3 in the afternoon. Jesus is saying, you will recognize the season, never the date. And there is the trap everyone has fallen into for 2,000 years, taking the season and turning it into a calendar, taking the leaf and producing a number. So what he does next is the most revealing thing in the entire speech. He does not stop at nobody knows. He keeps talking for a whole chapter. And if a man says the date is impossible to know, and then keeps talking for another 20 minutes, then what he says next is the real answer. Before the stories, an image, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. Look at what he did not say. He did not say they were monsters. He did not say they were killing, stealing, worshipping idols. He said they were eating, drinking, and marrying. In other words, living life, normal things, good things even. And knew not. The problem here is distraction. So if being ready is not guessing the date, and it is also not refusing to live, what is it? He answers with 3 stories. The last 3 he tells before the cross. 10 young women wait for the bridegroom for the wedding feast. 5 brought extra oil for their lamps. 5 did not. The bridegroom is late, and all of them nod off and sleep. All of them. The wise ones slept too. So, it is not about not sleeping. It is not about paranoid vigilance, about living in fear. At midnight, the cry, "He is here." The 5 without oil ask to borrow, and the others say no. It sounds selfish, but it is the exact point of the story. Some things cannot be borrowed at the last minute. You do not borrow your mother's faith. You do not use your pastor's oil. What you built inside yourself over a lifetime does not transfer. They run to buy it. When they come back, the door is shut. A master travels and entrusts his money to 3 servants. To one he gives 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1. And to give you a sense of scale, 1 talent was about 20 years of a working man's wages. Even the servant who received the least received a fortune. The first 2 invest and double it. The third digs a hole and buries it. And what he says when the master returns is the heart of the parable. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. He did not steal, he did not spend, he did not lose, he preserved, he gave it back intact, exactly what he received. And he is condemned, because being ready to Jesus is not keeping, it is risking. The careful man, the one who made no mistakes, the one who protected what he had, he is the villain of the story. Put it together with the oil, and you get this. Readiness is something you build, not something you preserve. It is not waiting with your arms folded, staying clean. It is working with what you were given. But the final question is still missing. Working at what? And then comes the last scene, the end of everything. The Son of Man on the throne of his glory, all the nations gathered before him, the separation as a shepherd divides the sheep from the goats. This is the moment the entire speech was pointing at. It is literally the end of the world. And here is the criterion. I was hungry, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in, naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. And the righteous are confused. Lord, when did we see thee hungry? When did we see thee thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison? And he answers, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Read the list again, and notice what is not on it. The final judgment, the climax of the prophecy of the end of the world, does not mention, not even once, who got the date right, who understood the prophecy, who identified the signs, who was in the right group, who knew the most scripture. The question is, did you give food? Now go back to the beginning, back to the Pharisees. What did Jesus accuse them of? Of cleaning the cup on the outside, of tying burdens onto other people's backs and not lifting a finger, of tithing the mint, the dill, and the cumin, and neglecting the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. They had everything: memorized scripture, discipline, fasting, respect, tithes, prayer, everything, except exactly what shows up at the final judgment. And then you realize it was never 3 chapters. It is one single speech, from beginning to end. Jesus opens by showing a religion that looks right and is empty. He describes the end of the world in the middle. And he closes by revealing that the criterion of the end of the world was all along exactly what that religion was missing. The prophecy was not teaching you to read the signs. It was teaching you what kind of person is worth being while the signs do not come. So, are the signs here? War, yes. Famine, yes. People speaking in his name and lying, plenty. Love growing cold. Look around and answer that one yourself. The fig tree has leaves. The season, perhaps, is this one. But if you came this far waiting for a number, a date, a year, did you watch the same video I did? He said not even he knew. And after saying that, he spent the rest of his speech talking about oil, about a buried talent, and about food given to a stranger. When is the end? That is the disciples' question. It is a good one. It is human. It is the one we would ask too. it is just not his question. His question is, what if it were today? Not did you calculate correctly, not did you identify the beast, not are you in the right group, but was there oil in your lamp? Did you do something with what you were given, or did you bury it in fear? Was there someone hungry near you, and did you see them? Because according to him, that is what will be asked. And that is the only test you can start taking now, without knowing the date. If you want to keep seeing him like this, close enough to notice what everyone else walks past, subscribe. That is all we do here. This was Jesus Up Close.